Hello and welcome back to Handmade Not Hallmark. It's Amanda here with day 2 of my 2018 fall card series. Today I wanted to create a scene card using some images from the Lawn Fawn Jump for Joy stamp set and some dies from My Favorite Things. I'm starting out with stamping the images that I wanted to use using my mini Misty stamping tool to help me get really good crisp images. I am using My Favorite Things Intense Black ink for all of my stamping because it's Copic friendly, and I'm also using some Nina Smooth White cardstock because it is also great for Copics. I stamped my images several times to make sure I got some really great black lines so that they stand out really well. I just love these little images from Lawn Fawn. They're just so cute, and the little fox and the hedgehog I think are my favorite from this set. And the fall leaves. I'm just so ready for fall and for summer to be over because I'm tired of the bugs and the heat. If you see a little hand coming in there every once in a while, that's my youngest son. He loves to watch me color and see what I create, and he likes to ask lots of questions, and it's just fun because he gets a really good ideas and lots of fun out of it. After all of my stamping was done, I decided I wanted to pick out some Copic markers that would go great with the fall scene and the fall colors. I'm not an expert when it comes to Copic coloring. I'm still pretty new to it, but these are the colors that I chose, and I will have them listed at the bottom of the screen for you. And then I will also list them in the description box as well. I'm going to start out coloring the little fox here. Again, I'm not an expert when it comes to Copic coloring. I'm still kind of new to it. I do go lightest to darkest, and I just kind of go with what I think looks best for shading and shadows. Again, I like to go with what I think looks best, and everybody's different, have different styles and all that kinds of things. So I wanted to start out with my little fox here. And then I'll move on to I think I go to the hedgehog and then the owl. But I'm going to let you watch me color. I'll put on some music, and then I'll come back once they're all colored, and we'll go through the rest of this card together. just finishing up a few leaves here, and then I'm going to die cut them all and work on my background piece. I'm using the MFT mini cloud stencil and some Salty Ocean distress ink to create my background. Most of it's going to be covered up by some of the hills and everything like that, but I just wanted to get something in the background to add some dimension and some distance. I did some die cutting before I started my project. I wanted to get some pieces together so you didn't have to watch me hand crank through my die cutting machine. I die cut a few of the MFT birch trees, and I wanted to put a little distress ink on them so that they weren't so plain and they had a little bit of dimension to them with some brushed corduroy distress ink. I sped up my distress ink coloring so you wouldn't have to sit and watch me through that. I wish I could sponge this quickly, but alas, I cannot. So that's the beauty of movie editing. Next, I wanted to kind of get all of my pieces together. I had pre-cut some hills out of some different colors of green cardstock with the MFT stitched hillsides. And I'm just gluing them on with my Tombow Mono multi-glue. I didn't want too much dimension because I'm going to be having a lot of things going on, so I just wanted to glue them flat to my surface and get my scene together and get it all framed up. So you're going to see me kind of figure out where I want things placed and what looks best, and then I'm going to flip my cardstock over and trim it up to get rid of all the excess along the side. I used the Lawn Fawn small stitched rectangles to create my frame. And then I started taking my trees and figuring out where I wanted them to go and how they would look with the frame and trimming them up, getting the best placement and make sure I had room for all my critters and my leaves. You're going to be seeing me do a lot of kind of fussing and figuring out where I want things to go. Next, I'm going to get all my images die cut using the coordinating dies with the Jump for Joy set and magic of video editing, and they're all cut out. Next, I wanted to add some finishing details. I took a Sakura Koi black glaze pen, I think I said that right, to add some details to their eyes and their little noses to kind of make them stand out a little bit. And I'm going to take my Signo white gel pen and add some white highlights as well, just to kind of liven up the characters a little bit. I think it makes them look a little more realistic and instead of being a flat image. I took the white pen and I added made it look like spines on the hedgehog. Make him stand out just a little bit more because he was my favorite out of this set. I'm just going to bring my scene in and I'm going to start assembling and getting everything in where I wanted it to go. So while this is going, I figured I might as well tell you a little bit about myself since you've come and spent some time with me and watch my videos. I'm pretty new to card making. I started probably a couple years ago, and I usually only do like fall and holiday cards and things like that, and on occasion I'll make one for a wedding or a birthday if I have one coming up that I know about. And I don't really have a craft space, so it's kind of on my kitchen table with my family around me, but we make it work, and they know it's something I enjoy, and they like to watch sometimes and see how I make things, so it's a lot of fun for me, and it's kind of relaxing, and my family likes to watch me do it. A little bit about myself. I'm a mom. I have 3 kids, and I've got one on the way. He's due in September, so he'll be here really soon, just in time for fall. And they're all boys. Boy mom for life. And I do work a full-time job, so crafting is a hobby for me, but when I get a chance to do it, I love to do it, sit down and create and send out some joy for everyone else. Next, you'll see here that I'm trying to figure out the best place to put these leaves, and I really want to fill the card up to make it look as full and, full of color and leaves as possible, because I just love fall. Fall's my favorite time of year. I just love the smell of fall. I don't know if fall has a smell, but it's probably one of my favorite things, and the fact that there's no bugs and it's not really that hot. So, and then the holidays are coming up, and it makes for a really nice time of year. A little bit more about myself. While I'm figuring out where I want to place some things, I was in the Navy for 4 years. I was stationed in Virginia, and I, went overseas and did a deployment and got to see some of Europe and the world. And then I came back home, and I got out, and it was a really good experience. It was really nice. Sometimes I miss it, sometimes I don't, but, life goes on. Just going to use some acrylic blocks here to help hold down my frame so that it doesn't pull up while it dries. And then I'm going to flip it over and trim off the excess trees there, and clean up the back of my card a little bit there. Still using my Tombow. I use Tombow quite a bit, depending on, what I'm adhering, if I want dimension or not. Sometimes I'll use foam tape, but I like the Tombow Mono multi-glue. Next, I wanted to arrange my leaves so that it looked like the hedgehog was actually jumping into the pile, and the leaves were kind of going all over. I like the way they looked against the frame. The colors, they really pop on that white frame. Just trying to get my critters in the best spot. I didn't want them to get left out or covered up or anything like that. And I just adhered them flat to the card too. Again, I didn't want a ton of dimension. Get all my leaves adhered and get that all done. If anybody has any suggestions on what they'd like to see me create, any kind of certain mediums or that sort of thing, any particular company, stamp set, that kind of thing, just leave me a comment below. And I'll try to accommodate everybody, and trying to show a little bit of what I can do. I'm not an expert or anything like that. I just kind of go with what I like and what looks good, and just have fun with it. It's really what I like, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And I hope you guys do too. Just adding the last couple of pieces in here. And I decided that I didn't want to add a sentiment on the outside of the scene. I couldn't really find a good spot for one. I mean, I could have stamped one on the frame and all that, but I really wanted the characters to kind of be the focus in the scene. So I just decided to leave sentiment blank. Pre-folded cardstock here that I'm going to use, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment on the inside. I'm going to use a sentiment from the same Jump for Joy stamp set that says Jump for Joy, and then underneath it, it says Fall is Here. And I'm just going to use some distress inks. Distress inks aren't really the best for stamping, but that's what I have and that's what I use, and I think it turned out pretty great. And sorry about my head being in the way. I wanted to make sure I got it lined up really great. I think I used carved pumpkin for the Jump for Joy, and then I stamped the rest of the sentiment with the same black ink I used before. I'll get it all lined up there and stamped, and then I took some of the solid leaf images from the stamp set and picked out a couple of distress ink colors and stamped them around. I like doing groups of 3. It's a little bit more pleasing to the eye to see things in groups of 3 and odd numbers. Again, I used distress ink, so they weren't the best. They were a little splotchy, but I didn't mind that at all. That way you know that it's handmade and it's not perfect, and it's whoever receives this card will enjoy it anyway. So I'll get those leaves stamped in there. And after I had my inside of my card stamped, I took some perfectly plaid fall paper from Lawn Fun Release from, I think it was a couple years ago. I apologize if I'm using something that you can't get anymore, but I have it on hand and I really wanted to use it for this. And I just cut it to line up with the card base, and I'm going to use it as just something in the background so it's not white on white. After I get it adhered, that finishes up my card for today. I want to thank you for joining me, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below and give me a thumbs up. Lets me know that you liked what you've seen, and I hope you stop back for the next video. It'll be day 3, and I'm not really quite sure what I'm going to make yet. It'll be a surprise, but I'll make sure I give you some sneak peeks. Thanks. Bye.